pushing, pushing for Kennedy, and Kennedy was elected in '60. But he got along better with Kennedy's brother than he did John Kennedy. But from then on, he was able to go talk to him about different things, and Civil Rights Bill and all of that. But at the same time, back in Birmingham and all of Alabama, Mississippi, and all these places, this didn't mean anything really. It meant that now we can vote, which was one of the biggest things that could ever happen to black people, Even though we see our people now hesitant about voting, but I would say to the ones who don't vote, you need to be able to read or something, to see something, to tell you, to demonstrate to you, and all these different things about not being able to vote. To me, the greatest thing ever happened to blacks in this country is being able to vote. And a lot of people, but to me, voting. I mean, if you're gonna holler about everything else, go down and vote, and then you can talk about all the different things that you don't like and all these things. But if you're not voting, ain't no use to talking about these different things. But for the last 2.5 years of King's life, he really wanted to talk about the Vietnam War, because he said that he was a man of peace and everything, and it meant that he should say the same things about the war. And when he started saying that, his popularity went, between 11 and 12 months before he was assassinated, 27 to 29% white. It was 27 to 29% whites who thought positive of him. 39 to 41% black who thought positive, who thought him, or who looked at him as being positive. And this is again from him talking about the war, and he was talking about the real thing of the war. He was on vacation in California, him and a couple more people, and he was about to eat when he had he got the newspaper here, newspaper there, but he was beginning to eat, and he looked at and seen this young Vietnamese lady, probably 13, 14, 15, holding a Vietnamese baby. The baby was dead, and she was like almost, clothed. And he put his plate away from him, but his feeling about Vietnam, and we can talk about it, debate it, and all these different things, I was there, and for me, I was there, but I wouldn't go back. And I had two young brothers younger than me. I had told them not to go. So I was one of those people who had been, but wouldn't go back. And that's the way and that's the way most of the people who had been to Vietnam felt. You know, it was a losing. It wasn't anything in it for us. You know, there was simply nothing in it for us. You know, and all the people we lost and was injured and all these things, it was for nothing. You know, but you know that's the way the U.S. is. So King was he was talking more and more about the war. They had invited him to come to Europe and speak and all these different things. And in Memphis, you know, they had this garbage strike and all this, and the people who working garbage, black guys, who were making just enough money to get by. You know, they was working on these garbage trucks and all this, and just enough money to get by. And the owners and all the people who was over them said, hey, you know, okay, do what y'all want to do. You know. So one of the ministers called King. At the time when King was supposed to go, they had things lined up in Chicago because they had tried to do things in Chicago, and again, all these different groups has been spending money, misplacing money, and they had tried for 3 years in Chicago, 64, 5, 6. Anyway, 3 years they had tried to do things in Chicago, and you know, you had this group, and they all was, you know, crying about money or something. So, but anyway, he went to Memphis. All his people told him not to go. Nobody, Andy Young, nobody in this group figured that, you know, you can't do anything about it, you know, this. But somehow we got a few days before we do this. I'll just stop there. So he went, talked to the people, left and went back to Atlanta. Then went back on the 3rd. That night, him and his guys talked and went on, and they was going to the next evening they was going to the guy's house for, you know, meal and just talk around and everything. But the night before that, he made this speech again. And somehow, the speech during that time, Andy Young and others who was close to him said that they had never seen him like that before. You know, they had seen him do this speech over and over. You know, in '63 at the March. In the tight times, he would do this speech. But that particular night in Memphis, he was in this church, and he, you know, they say he was wet. And this was April the 3rd. So it's pretty warm down there, but, you know, he just say he was just drenched. And when he sit down, he got back up, he sit down again, drenched and wet and everything. Next day, they talked and went on that night and all these things, and he got up about 12 the next day. all the guys got ready and everything. He's going out to speak again with the march and all that. And King was later because he used this magic shave, you know. I don't know who many people don't know about magic shave, but this magic shave is, you know, you put it on and wait and then scrape it off and everything. I used to use it myself. I don't now, though. But it's a mess to use. But anyway, so he finally got ready and stepped out. He got ready. They was already downstairs waiting for him and everything. And he stepped out, and a couple of people was in the room. 3 or 4 people downstairs at the cars waiting, and he stepped out and caught that bullet. And to me, he was only 39 years old. To me, it had been to do all these things, to go all these miles, because for him it was some days he would get up in Atlanta, fly to Chicago, to New York, be back that evening for a gathering at the church. He would leave this morning, go to D.C., meet with somebody there, Virginia, meet with somebody there, and back at a march that evening, and then that night. And to sum it all up, it is said, and nobody will ever know, that him and Miss King would have been divorced in a year after, you know, if he had lived, because
I said it's hard on a marriage.
Right, yeah, and that's what they said, you know, said she had been, you know, raising the kids and all these other things, and for about 10 years he was living out of a suitcase, you know, never home, you know. They went on vacation once in a while, but, you know, he's never home. And the thing that really amazed me is that how he traveled so much, you know, and we're talking about the 1960s. You know, now you can get on a plane in Detroit and be in San Francisco in 3 hours and 47 minutes, you know. But back then, you know, I can't imagine how long it took to fly from, you know, say from Atlanta to San Francisco or San Francisco to New York. I don't know, you know. But so to me, it's just amazing how many miles he traveled, and every day getting up, having to do this. And it's said that during the last 2.5 to 3 years of his life, he was often in another, seemed like he was often in a different world, you know. You know, they'd have to always be talking to him, you know. And but I can imagine why, you know. And I'm gonna end this, and I'm gonna end in one of his speeches. He said, you know, he said, "Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that really matters." And I believe that. Okay, thank you. Thank you.